towards a more effective training systems for SOC analysts, because eventually, you need some training for SOC analysts to make sure that they can actually have proper analysis. So yesterday, very quick overcap for people who weren't there, I talked about this process that actually improves the analysis of a tier 1 analysis, right? So in what order a tier 1 analyst should, look at what types of information, et cetera, et cetera. So great, this process works, but we actually have to implement it in practice. So then the question becomes, okay, how do we integrate then this process into a security operations center so we can actually see the effects of it? It's a big step to implement this directly first as an actual operational tool. So we thought, okay, what if we start implementing it as a training tool to see if it actually improves the training and make sure that people, analysts, right, will actually follow this process without having a tool or something that they have to use because they really are reluctant to have the tool forced upon them, so we need to figure out how to make the tool more usable. So first, let's do a training with that. So a master student of mine, Santiago Dare, he started building this tool. So first of all, we built this tool into Security Onion. Why? It's very simple. This is a scene that's open source. So first of all, it's free, so yeah, no legal issues with it, so that's very nice. But second of all, the SOC is already using this tool. So the moment when we put a tool on top of a tool that's already used, probably it's much more easier to convince the managers. It's also easier for people to start using it, and simultaneously they will also get a training on this tool, which they have to actually use in operations anyway. So it's a win-win for everybody. Right, so then how does this tool look like? So we can see here that basically you can add alerts into this kind of panel that you have on top of the screen. And here it tries to automatically fetch some of the information that we asked them to gather, but also leave it blank where we can't find anything. Because we know that a lot of times automatically fetch information can simply be wrong. So we really stress to the fact that people still need to look at it. So for example, here you can see that there's like 3 information points. So how specific a signature is of a given alert, how old a signature is of a given alert. These information happened with this alert because of some error that it couldn't be fetched. Customer scope also couldn't be fetched in this case. However, when we train analysts by saying, hey, can you analyze an alert using the system, so they can manually look into the system and then find this information and make sure that they put this information in properly. So their mind kind of like gets used to specifically looking for these informations and putting them in. After they are done getting these information, they can check it, and they can go to the next categories of information, the next stuff they should look at during an alert process, right? And here we also have a system where they can actually click on the specific information to automatically generate a query for them to look at these type of information. So here we want them to look at alert history, right, which basically means how often has a specific alert you are looking at triggered in the past, not necessarily like in the same context of this attack, but just in general, specifically that signature. Here, the user can actually just click on this button, and it will generate a query that shows all of this list, making it easier for them to parse this information, right? So we have this tool that's kind of a prototype. It's all nice and all, but what do we actually want to do with it? Because we want to see how much the effect the training will have. But first, before that, we will actually conduct a user testing, right, with a prototype to see if it's actually even people like it as a training, whether people don't have major issues with the design, et cetera, et cetera. After that, we want to test the performance of a training. So we want to see how it impacts the performance in the long term, right? So we want to see, okay, how do people perceive these trainings? But after these trainings, how accurate are they in analysis compared to people who got trained in the current normal way of the SOC? But also, more importantly, what are the long-term effects? So if you look at them after 2 weeks of the training, 4 weeks of the training, have they all plateaued to the same level? Or is there actually a structural difference that still remains because of the trainings they got with this process? Because of, if you look at that, the impact, of course, will be much more different in the long term, and whether you should use it or not should be much more urgent or less urgent, depending on that. So this is currently the plan that we have. If there's any questions or inquiries about any of these things, feel free to ask me here or on Slack. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leo.